right, yo, what's going on? Sorry, I'm just adjusting this microphone just a little bit, but it is 3 p.m. time for the live stream. It is Wednesday, July 1st. It is July 1st. I can't believe it. The year is so weird, and time is so strange, and I have lost all track of it. But I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad to be spending the afternoon with you guys. So let's see who's here. We've got Drake Holtree coming in from Texas. Not really Hank Aaron. George Zhang. J. Mike Remy. Awesome. Good to see you. JC, Roadrunner Review. Stevie76 says, yo, what's going on? Awesome. Not really Hank Aaron's here. Jody Runs. Awesome. Good to see everybody. I'll tell you, I'm a little bit groggy right now because I just woke up from a nap a little while ago. The baby and I were sitting on the couch and doing a little bit of snuggling, just relaxing a little bit and watching some Doc McStuffins, and I fell asleep for a little while, and it was really nice. It was really nice. So just woke up like 15 minutes ago, but feeling very refreshed, feeling good. Today's workout was a tough one, or a little bit of a tough one, just because it's so humid here right now. It's just 100% humidity. At least that's what I don't know where Strava gets the data from, but it's getting data. I'm sure it's getting it from the local area where I am, but the temperatures it said was 67 degrees, which is nice and cool, but 100% humidity, which I thought once it gets to 100% humidity, it just rains, but I think it's been 100% humidity like every day for every run on my Strava. But at least it wasn't like super hot, like in terms of sun, like beating down on me as well. It was like foggy and overcast. So at least I had a little bit of that going on. But definitely a day where I got some of the Unimed recovery mix in because it was a little bit of I had some faster miles in there, and then tried to hydrate a lot and then took a nap. So a good day for me, for sure. Bert, like I said, sorry for being 1 minute late. It's good to see you. Greg Itahara says, yo, Fuzi, it's happy Saturday, LOL. Always messing with me on the days, but I got it. Jody Run says, I woke up 10 minutes ago, but my excuse is 6 a.m. Yeah, my excuse is that I'm just tired. Kyle says, humidity was 80% here today, which was actually a relief over the past week. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really track humidity that closely. For example, I didn't know that it could be 100%. All right, looks like we're reconnecting. All right, so I think we're coming back now. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I just got a little notification saying from that OBS was having a problem. That's the software that I use to stream through to YouTube. So hopefully it's okay now. It doesn't look like it's right though. What's going on? Anyway, I will keep talking. Okay, now I think we're back. All right, some technical difficulties here, but hopefully that's all we got for today. MJM says, hey, sorry I missed a Happy Joe's Taco Pizza live after I kept asking about it and their delicious BLT. Best thumbnail ever when I watched the replay. Awesome. That's so funny. That was a fun one, and I'm glad that, these are getting recorded and kept so people can check them out even if they can't catch them live. So I'm glad you watched it anyway. Thank you. Tony Yu says, happy Canada Day from Laura and Tony. Awesome. I didn't know it was Canada Day. Is it? Oh, it's July 1st, right? Yeah. Martha says, I also thought 100% humidity is either rain or heavy fog. Well, it was heavy fog today. I'm glad you got in a nice nap. Some days when I work out, I collapse just around now. Yeah, for sure. Usually that afternoon time, a little bit after lunch, is when it's a real struggle for me. I mean, it's been that way for me all the time, whether that's even during work, and even now when I'm not working. It's just that mid-afternoon slump for me, where normally I have a lot of coffee, but if I don't, I just end up sleeping. Normally, in real world times, or when things are normal, I try to schedule my meetings right around that time, from between 1:30 and 3, because I know that that's a real slump in the day, and if I have a chance to sit, I just won't be productive, even if I don't fall asleep. So I actually had meetings today at 10:30. So that was a little bit different, but yeah, I was watching a webinar about a tent. So it wasn't really a meeting and it wasn't really work, but it was kind of work but anyway, yeah, but it was about a literal tent, a tent that unfolds real quickly and folds again. I asked for a media unit, like to see if they would send me one to borrow for a minute so I could test it out. I think the girls would really like that, to like camp out on like the front yard here or in the backyard. I think that would be fun. And I'm pretty like, I have no experience when it comes to things like camping. And so I figure if I can figure out how to use that tent and I can get it like set up quickly, that means it is a testament of engineering. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully I get one. Emma Williams says, feel ya. Dallas says, I've been hot as heck and crazy humidity. Yeah, I think that like a lot of the country is experiencing a lot of humidity right now. And yeah, I think we're all struggling. JC says, heat index going up in Texas this week. Yeah, I think that, am I still connected to the live stream? Huh, it looks like it. I'm not getting any more comments, so hopefully things are going okay. But yeah, it's been crazy how the temperatures and the humidity keeps going up. The weather forecast here, it's so crazy. Like every evening I look at the forecast and it's like next day it might be like 50% chance of rain and thunderstorms on and off for most of the day. And then by the time I wake up, it's just like, nope, it's just going to be really humid. So that's all we've been getting. All right. Let me check something out here. I'm not sure if I'm still in the live stream. Am I? Something's going on where it just doesn't look right. And I'm nervous because I don't see any more comments. Let me see any comments if you guys... it looks like I'm still alive, but how come I'm not seeing any of the chat? And that's a little bit alarming. I wonder if there's another way for me to see the chat other than what's in here, or if I can... let's see. All right, so, okay. So whatever I did, now it looks better and I could see it. All right, there was just something in one of the windows that I was looking at. Sorry about that, guys. Where you guys were like yelling at me and that you're saying I'm connected, you see me. And I was like, I can't see you guys, but it's here. It's here. I see it now. Cool. Sorry about that. All right. Josh Malway says, I'm only at 16 miles in the Novablast, but they made my knees really achy. Before them, I was in the Pegasus. Did this happen to anyone else? Should I expect the aches to go away? I hope that they do for you. If you're only 16 miles in, it could just be like, I felt that in the beginning as well. I just felt like they were a little bit too mushy for me. That did mellow out pretty soon though. So I would expect you to get that like now. The fact that you're still like having achy knees in them makes me a little bit worried. But yeah, that was one shoe. That and the Freedom 3 this year were two shoes that I thought were too soft and almost too soft. They eventually both ended up being okay for me. The Novablast ended up being much better than the Freedom 3. The Freedom 3, I was just like, I don't know. I think it was too soft or I don't know. I'm not sure why I didn't like that one, but there were things about it where I thought maybe that was messing with my knees. Let's see. Martha says, San Francisco Marathon must be a killer with all those hills. I wouldn't pick it if time was your priority. Yeah, I've seen people that run that one, and yeah, it is pretty rough with hills. That's what I've seen. Drake Coltree says, I'm going to start emailing shoe companies asking for a media unit. You know, I don't think that they do that for shoes. I think they do it. Sometimes I'll get one of those when it comes to watches. But because those are a little bit more expensive, and then, you know, you don't need to keep them for a long time to be able to do the review. I mean, you need to keep them for a little bit. Shoes are very like personal, and you sweat in them in a different way. But the tent, for some reason, I mean, the tent isn't that expensive of a tent, but I just think that they're not like giving them out like a lot of things, you know. So and that's kind of like sometimes when you ask for like a media unit, you have to give it back, and then. But most people are like, just keep them. We don't want to. I think a lot of it is they don't want to have to deal with like having an inventory of like shoes that have been used by 7 or 8 people, you know. So And I'm not sure how my wife would feel about me getting a tent that someone else has used. Although I suppose by the time it gets to me, anything that would have been in there has died. So I don't know. Let's see. What else we got in here? Then there's a whole bunch of comments about you guys helping me out because you guys can see me, and I was just not seeing it, but sorry about that. Samir Rerazani says, running to heart rate and humidity is frustrating. Talking about the humidity. Yeah, I will agree, and I've definitely been feeling it. Although I'm not sure if it's just like the running in the humidity that's been a problem. I only have been noticing it like the last 2 or 3 miles of every run, where I'm like, man, I just got to crawl along in order to stay within my target heart rate range. And I'm just thinking that I might just be getting more fatigued. It's not, I mean, I guess it's the humidity that's doing that, but like, I think I'm just getting fatigued faster. And so that cardiac drift hits a little bit sooner and a little bit more noticeably. But yeah, I share your frustration. I've been feeling it too. Kevin Johnson says, I watched your Pegasus review and your Atreyu review. Which one do you recommend to what kind of runner? I think the Pegasus is easy to recommend for me to just about anyone. And that's the kind of shoe that I would recommend to people that are like, hey, I'm looking to get into running. I don't really know where to start. I have a pair of shoes. I don't know what they are. But I'm looking for something new. Like if that's kind of the general description, I'll definitely recommend the Pegasus first. And kind of go from there. Another one that I would do that for is like the Beacon. Like those are two that I would kind of recommend to everyone because I feel like they're classically like daily trainers. The Atreyu, I need to run a little bit more in that one to really get a feel for it. My initial thoughts on it were that I think it looks to me like it's supposed to be a speed shoe, but it didn't behave like that to me. So I'm thinking tomorrow might be a day for the Atreyu. So I was thinking about running in them again tomorrow. And I'm thinking what it might be, the Atreyu might be for a person who is looking for a little bit more road feel. So someone that knows a little bit more of what they want in a daily trainer, and someone that wants something that's a little bit more kind of stripped down and has a little bit more road feel to it, but is still comfortable and not like a minimalist shoe. That's kind of where I'm leaning so far, but I still got to figure it out a little bit more. So testing continues. Maybe ask me tomorrow and I'll have a better idea. Let's see. Awesome. MC1796 says, Peg 37 versus Clifton for a daily trainer. I like them both. I think that the way that I would decide on that is if someone says like, I kind of have wide feet. If someone mentions anything about foot width or comfort in the toe box or like feeling squished, then I will go to the Clifton. That's basically how I would decide it. That's pretty much the way that I would figure it out, because like the 37, none of the Pegasus has always been a little bit of a slimmer fit or tighter fitting shoe, and I know that's a turnoff for a lot of people. And so people that have like that are a little bit more finicky in terms of like what shoe fits them, even if it's the right size, like that's where I'll go with the Clifton. My wife always has a real hard time finding a new pair of shoes, and I'm thinking about them for her. I don't know if she'll like them though, because they're gonna look a lot like bigger than what she normally likes to use. Right now she's in a pair of Peg 36s, and she seems to like those. But it's funny because she never likes any shoe right out of the box. But like you have to wait a couple months to see which one she'll actually wear later, and then by the time like it's time for her to get rid of those, and it's probably time for her to get rid of hers right now, she's going to be like, I don't know, I've just always loved these so much. And I'll be like, you don't remember like the first month and a half where you complain about this shoe every time? But that's how kind of she is, I guess. It's just really hard for me to buy shoes for her. So that's something I have to remember and think about later. Martha says, one great race I did in San Francisco is a 10K or a 10 mile that goes across the Golden Gate Bridge and back. The biggest hill was the bridge itself, which is quite cantilevered like most large bridges. That would be kind of fun. As much as I don't like hills, and I wouldn't like a long gradual hill like on any bridge like that, I just think that like it's a nice fun like that seems like a really fun, like, not gimmick, but like theme for the race. I like that. Cody Davis says, it's been so hot here in Florida. If you're not out the door before 5, 6ish, you might as well wait till the sun goes down. I mean, it's not like we're not Florida hot here by any means, but I've been late, like for the past several days, I've been getting out to run about 7. And so if it's a longer run, I'll get back by like 9 in the morning, and it's just super hot already. Today I got out the door at like 6. That was more bearable. I think I'd like to start getting out around 5:30. I think that that extra half hour will make a big difference. So that's my goal. Patrick Funk says, happy Canada Day, everyone. Took advantage of Adidas' deal, SL20, Adizero Pro, and the Boston 9. Wondering, though, what RC20? To me, it's very similar to the SL20. The it's RC 2.0, and it is very similar to the SL20, and I have no idea what the difference is. I haven't bought it, just because I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out why it exists or what it's there for. Like, it would make more sense to me if like the RC 2.0 was like a legacy from a brand, like a shoe like line that had existed in Australia, Southeast Asia, and then the SL20 is something that just exists in like Europe, US. But it's not. They're both available in the US, and I don't understand what the difference is. Christian Gullner says, how far would you not run in the Peg 37? I think that you could take the pegs up to a marathon, up to 20 miles for a run, but I don't know that I would. I mean, you could, but I think that, there are better options out there. And when I made the video for today, I tried to take it from the perspective of, the Pegasus videos tend to draw in a wider audience. And so I tried to make it a little bit more general. I was trying to think of how would Jamie describe this shoe? Because he does a really good job of appealing to a broad range of shoe enthusiasts. And so I tried not to get too specific into that. I think that there are probably people that are running 20 milers in it regularly. Would I want to run a 20 miler in it? Probably not. I mean, 20 I think would be fine. It would depend on the pace. If it was 20 easy, yeah. If it's 20 and then there's hard work in there, I'm not sure that I'd want to do that. So when I talked about it in the video, I said super short distance, fast people that are doing track work might find it a little bit too there's too much stack height in it, at least in terms of stack height in terms of react foam, and you might lose some kind of connection to the road surface or their track surface. And I think for the other side, people that are running very long distances on it, there's other more comfortable shoes to run in for those kinds of distances. And so I'm not sure that I'd want to run in it that long. Although this year with the React foam, I think that the determining factor for me would be more the upper than it would be the midsole, because that upper is a little bit more snug. And so I feel like when they talk about daily trainers for the Peg 37, I think their target runner is someone that runs mostly 5K, 10Ks, and then sometimes half marathons, and maybe once in a rare while, or is thinking about a marathon. I don't know what their Peg 37 paradigmatic runner is. I don't know who that runner is, if there is an idea from Nike of who that one person is, or if there's a couple of types of person. But I don't think that the person they're thinking of that's reaching for the Peg 37 is necessarily marathoners and ultra marathoners. I think it's something a little bit shorter. Let's see. All right. Dokutagurin says, hello, everyone. Happy Canada Day. Good to see you. Happy Canada Day to you. Jordan Thomas says, agree that the height prevents you from clawing the ground, especially on track when I'm running mile paces. Yeah. Thanks for the backup on that. Yeah. I think that there's just the React foam because there's so much of it in that one. I just think that you lose a little bit of connection. But since I don't actually do mile paces and 200s in terms of repeats on a track, glad to have someone that has experience with it. But yeah, and I don't think that was necessarily the case with previous Pegasus. So the 36, I think that wouldn't be, again, my first choice for like a track workout day. But I think if you showed up on a track workout day with Pegasus, people wouldn't be like, you sure? So I think it's a little bit of a difference. Let's see. Jordan Thomas says, anything you left out of the Peg 37 long-term review that you feel like you wanted to add? That's a good question. And, like I was saying, I did want to kind of keep it a little bit shorter, a little bit more general. And I think we've pretty much covered the things that I would want to add kind of if we were making like a director's cut of that video. Is that like, I'm not sure that I'd want to take it for very long distances. I'm not sure that I'd really want to do like sprint work in it. And my thought of like, I might not necessarily be like the target runner for the Peg 37. I have to think of it and evaluate, and I've been trying to evaluate it from the perspective of someone that runs shorter distances than I do and does less mileage and is looking for something a little bit different in a daily trainer than I am. So like daily trainer, I think, can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And so that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, no, in the video I spent a lot of time talking about outsole rubber, which I didn't really want to do. But like, I feel like and this is the last thing I'll say about the pegs, I guess, is that with the success of the peg trails last year, and people loved those, I enjoyed them too. I felt like this year they were like, all right, we're going to keep a lot of rubber on there. And I still feel like there's maybe a little bit more rubber on the outsole this year than there was in the 36. And I'm not sure I like it. So it was just a really an unusual. I mean, it was the safe choice, a very, very safe choice. But I felt like they had an opportunity here to. I mean, as long as you're changing the midsole, you're changing the midsole foam for the first time in years. You're changing the Zoom Air pocket for the first time in. Well, they change the Zoom Air pocket like every year, but they're making a really big change to it this year. Let's change up the outsole pattern. You could still keep that waffle or sections of waffle just in terms of the pattern, but like give me less of it. Make it, I don't know. I think they could have, it was a missed opportunity there. All right. So MC1796 says, definitely don't like doing track workouts in my daily trainer or even a tempo shoe. Stack height and upper looseness have given me blisters a few times. I just feel locked in with a flat. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that as well. But I think though that when you're thinking about it, like, I'm thinking that like the Peg 37, a shoe like that has to appeal to people that also might be thinking about it from like, they do CrossFit or they do, like, what is it? Like beep test type of workouts, or they're running drills on the infield of a track, and maybe they get on the track for a little bit. So I feel like it has to appeal to a really broad range. And I think that skews like the median or the mean, like average pace that the shoe is kind of like tuned for. I do feel like it felt happier at a little bit faster of a pace than my low heart rate pace overall. Let's see. Rain Runner says, has anyone gotten a migraine from running in the morning without eating? Do you eat before a run? I've never got a migraine from running without eating, and in the winter I frequently run without eating, or I'll have just coffee. These days I try to make sure I eat something beforehand because I feel like with the heat and the humidity, it's been sapping a lot of the energy out of me, and I run out of steam with about a couple of miles left, about 20 minutes left in my run. And so like, I just want to make sure that I have food in my system. That's been the big thing. I've also noticed that I've been taking in a lot less caffeine lately, and I think that's good, but it may also explain why I'm kind of feeling a little bit lethargic overall. Carlos says, I eat before runs. Yeah, I do. Kyle says he has not migraines, but have had aches from fasted runs. Mm-hmm. Nubetre says, but gotta drink water throughout the day before. Yeah, for sure. Um, Steve says, love 36 Shield and Trail. Just cut run short. 37 is now casual. I give up after 25 miles. Very disappointing. Oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. Especially because if you love the 36 Shield and the Trail, I would think that you would really like the 37. That's counterintuitive for me. Patrick Fung says he takes coffee in 15 minutes before the run. That should give it just the right amount of time to kick in as you're running. Kyle says, I notice better recovery after fasted runs if I make sure I hydrate and have electrolytes and a nibble of food after. That's very observant of you. I don't think I pay close enough attention to. I mean, I try to, but I don't. I know maybe I need to take like a different kind of food journal where I'm keeping track of that. But like I think I've kind of noticed patterns of during the run, but I haven't thought about it as fully as like how do I feel in terms of recovery, about my running and about what I'm eating during and right before the run. And right after. That's interesting. I'll have to think about that. Beth Rutland asks, would the Endorphin speed be an alternative to the Boston if you're looking for a little more stack height? Would it be easier on the legs for a faster long run? Is that your main use for it? I'd say yes. Yes to all of those questions. I really enjoy the Boston 9, and I do think that I think for me, it's like pretty much a great marathon racing shoe as well. But I ran in the speeds this morning, and yeah, I think there's a little bit more stack height there. Well, there's a lot more stack height there. Well, it feels like it. I don't know what the numbers are. And I feel like if you're looking for something a little bit more than the Boston 9, then I think the Endorphin speed is definitely something that you should be looking at. I really enjoy running in that shoe. And the main use for it is a faster long run. Yeah, so today's workout or today's run was 15 miles. We're 15.23. I found a route here that's a little bit more than 15 miles with 4x2 mile at or it was a little bit less than marathon pace or marathon heart rate for me. And it was certainly challenging today just because of the humidity and the route that I picked. I didn't look at like the elevation profile for it, but it was hilly. And nothing was giant in terms of hills, but it was constantly rolling hills. You were either going up or you're either going down, sometimes relatively steep, but for the most part enough to make it annoying for the uphills. And so it was rough. The one thing that I will say is a big thing that I noticed, and I'll talk about it because I'm going to make a video about this, another video about the speed tomorrow, is that I had it on a lot of dirt roads. I didn't realize the route that I had mapped out was going to be so much dirt road, and I just didn't like it. I just didn't. I felt like I was sliding around a little bit. There isn't much underfoot in terms of the tread pattern on the Endorphin speed, and I just didn't feel very secure. So I was thinking about using the Endorphin speed or the Pro. I'm not sure which one. But I was thinking about either of them I'm going to do a 30-mile or a FKT, fastest known time across the Heritage Trail, which is like 25 miles of crushed limestone. So basically very similar to the surfaces that I was on today. And now I'm rethinking that because I'm wondering if I just felt like I was losing a lot of power to slipping. Nothing that made me feel like I was going to hurt myself or slide around, but just enough, like when your foot hits, like just like a little tiny like slip that you're feeling that like just takes some of the wind out of your sails a little bit. So that's the only thing that I'll mention about that. Martha says she has to eat at least a little bit before running. Where did that comment go? I just jumped. Yeah, she has 2 shots of espresso with soy milk, a little oatmeal and blueberries or banana, and I pass out without calories / protein. High metabolism. Yeah, that sounds delicious, by the way. 2 shots of espresso with soy milk, oatmeal, blueberries, and banana. That sounds great. All right. Let's scroll down to the... Sorry, there's like all sorts of noises happening. Kyle Patton says, make sure not to overload fluid intake after. Can result in overhydration. I don't... Really? I think it's hard to overhydrate in the summer. What does that look like if you're overhydrated? Trying to think of what that would be. I'll have to look into that as well. I've not really thought about that. All right. Let's see. Clark Yep says, if you have the Peg 37 as a daily trainer and are looking for another pair of shoes as part of a rotation, ideally lighter and bouncier pair of shoes for a tempo run, what would you recommend? I think that the SL20 would be a great one. The Rincon, Hyperion Tempo, even the Razor 3 would be good as well. Those would all be a Fuel Cell Rebel would be another good option. I think there's Endorphin Speed that we've just been talking about, another great one to pair up against those. So those are ones that I would look for your tempo runs or like your longer fast runs. I think that would be a really nice combo there. Let's see. Shannon says, hi, Fuzzy Wuzzies. I'm late. Just woke up from nap with daughter. Oops. That's awesome. Perfect. That's what happened to me, too. I wasn't late, though. I was on time today. I actually made it on time. I'm excited. But I'm glad to see you here, Shannon, and you're always welcome. Matt Legren says, I'm sure you've answered this before. I know you used to have a coach when training for your last Chicago. Are you still using a coach, or are you making your own workouts? Yeah, I had a coach that Nike provided for me, Coach Robin, and she owns Edge Athlete Lounge in Chicago. She's a great coach. But now I'm just on my own. So like I kind of just make up my own stuff. Yeah. I've been tinkering with a lot of things. I've been tinkering with low heart rate training and kind of reading up from a variety of different just a variety of different books on it. I read Matt Fitzgerald's. I read Jack Daniels. Although I listened to that one's hard. It's a hard one to listen to. And then Advanced Marathoning. I read that one as well. So I kind of borrow from a lot of those concepts, and they all none of them really disagree substantially. There are certainly parts that are inconsistent and like can't be reconciled. But I take the parts that I think fit my general strengths and weaknesses, and kind of tune them to that. And so the general like split is like training, philosophies. Like I usually pay less attention to when like coaching programs talk about like marathoners that need to do a lot of like very, very fast speed work, like faster than 5K pace. I tend to like not do as much of that. And when a marathon program is like there's one that Runner's World, I don't know if they made it or they just endorse it or what, but it's like run fast with less or something like that. It's about like running your fastest marathon and it's on as few miles as possible. Like that mentality just, I don't know if like I just need to give it more than one cycle or more than a couple cycles, but I just don't feel like my body responds well to that. I feel like for me to be able to get to like the finish line in one piece, I need to build a little bit more higher mileage and have more runs that are in like the tempo range or like aerobic threshold range, rather than stuff that's 200 meter repeats. So that's like the general like bumpers in the main bowling alley of my marathoning approach, but that's kind of where I'm at. I've had a lot of people talk to me about, not a lot, I've had some people talk to me about getting like them coaching me or working together, and I'm at a point where I'm more interested in seeing and testing out some of these other things for myself than I am in like being coached by someone, and that's kind of where I'm at. Frank LaHoulier says, is the Boston 9 back out? Yes, it is. Martha pointed it out the other day, I think last week. And right now it's available in the color is that bright like orangey pink color that the Adizero Pro was released in. So it's that color. but it's the Boston 9, and on the heel it's just like a generic heel counter, and it says Adios Adios Boston 9 or something like that. Yeah. It doesn't say Adizero. It says Adios Boston 9. So like very muted, no unicorn, no Boston Marathon 2020 on it, like that. But it is back out. All right. Patrick Fung says, "Okay, guys, gotta go. Make some wontons. Stay safe." That's cool. Making wonton, that sounds awesome. I have a lot of good memory of making mandu, like Korean dumplings, growing up, because you normally like to make it worth your while. It's kind of like making raviolis or any other dumpling type of food. It's a great way to stretch more expensive ingredients. I think is kind of like the history of those kinds of foods, but they're also very communal, and because it's a little bit labor intensive. So you make a big bowl of the filling, and then everyone sits around and you make the little dumplings or the mandu or wontons or whatever they're called wherever you're from, and then you just make a huge batch of them at once, and then everyone takes some. I have good memories of that growing up. Tony, can you give a quick breakdown of the main difference between the Peg 36 and the Boston 9? I think from a quick breakdown perspective, the Peg 36 is a very comfortable daily trainer. The Boston 9 is more of a faster day shoe, something that you're going to take for your long runs, where you're going to be moving a little bit quicker. So there's not as much cushion in the heel. It's not as much designed for some of the easier paces. It's designed to be comfortable and to be capable at running not sprinting paces, but the paces that you need to train for your marathon. So those, in a nutshell, the differences. Rain Runner says, thanks all. I think I need to drink more water at noon throughout the day. Yeah. Kristen Goldner says, have you ever suffered from runner's knee? How did you recover? I don't think I've had runner's knee before. I'm not sure what people mean when they say that. So I'm not really sure how to recover from that one. So I'm afraid that's another area that I think I have some homework to do. Lester Silva says, do you use a heart rate monitor when running? If so, what wearable device? Yes, I do. I have many that I enjoy. I could break it down into two categories. When it's cold out, I have an armband that I like. It's the Polar OH1. I like that one because when it's cold, the chest straps that I like don't tend to work on me as well. I think there's just something with my anatomy, my rib cage structure, that I don't get a good solid connection all the time when it's very cold out. So I go with an armband. When it's warm out, I go with the chest strap because the connection is not a problem when I'm like sweating on it, because it conducts when moisture is required as well. And so when you're sweating like crazy, that's not an issue. And I haven't really found a heart rate monitor that doesn't work well. I mean, some are bigger than others, some are heavier than others. Some, the batteries, last a little bit longer or less. But I feel like the chest straps are all pretty similar. Now, there are some that are more expensive because they can talk to like two things at the same time. Like you could talk to your phone and maybe your treadmill, or if you're on Zwift, it could talk to like two things at the same time. So that's where like some of them get more expensive. But for me, in terms of the way I train, the chest straps are kind of all the same. I don't really know a difference. All right. JC says he loves fasted runnings, though long runs need a gel or two. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I usually don't have too much on board when I eat, just because I tend to run in the mornings, but I've definitely run with a very full stomach before, and I can do it. It's just not always the most comfortable. It just feels like you're burping a lot. Kyle Patton says, watched your editing video recently. Curious how you manage backup all your footage and what your machine's specs are. Also, why Final Cut versus Premiere, Avid, Resolve, etc. So I don't have a very sophisticated backup management system. I just use a collection of external drives because I have a MacBook that's a couple of years old. I think it's a 2018, but it might be a 2017 at this. I don't know, like, because it's been a while since I've got a new one. And so it just doesn't have a lot of space on it. I maxed out the RAM on it and has a faster or of the CPUs that you can get on a MacBook. But it's one that has like one USB-C port. That's it. So it's just a matter. It's a shell game where you're dumping a whole bunch more footage on it and you're taking off a whole bunch of footage as you're done. It's not super cramped, but I wouldn't mind if I had a little bit bigger of a hard drive. The reason why I picked Final Cut versus Premiere, I use Premiere for my work computer. I use Premiere at work. That I like for work because we have really tight turnarounds on some of the videos that we need to get edited for work. And so being able to throw like a computer with like a faster processor at it and be able to render it quick is a big deal. So, we have Windows PCs, so like Final Cut's not an option. So for our work, and so we use Premiere. But for home, the main reason why I use Final Cut is because I wanted to use a MacBook because a lot of times when I'm editing, for example, in places like my in-laws' house or when I'm traveling, I just don't want to sit plugged in. I might be editing from like a hotel bed or from the couch in the living room or somewhere else. And, an editing session can take a couple of hours sometimes. And so I just don't want to have to like stop in the middle and then go sit somewhere else and have to plug in to something. And so I wanted something with really good battery life, even if it meant the render times were a little bit slower. But the integration in terms of the MacBook and Final Cut Pro, because they have so much control of all the components and the different layers at Apple, it just makes it a very usable experience for like what would seem to be under-spec'd hardware to be able to edit it quickly. So the editing experience for the kinds of edits that I do, which are basically just cuts, I'm not doing a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'm doing a little bit of color correcting, but I'm colorblind. I try to stay away from that. So that's the reason is just battery life and just generally a simple, straightforward editing experience. That's pretty much it. Steve Ehrenberg says, pretzels are my go-to pre-run snack. The only time I like pretzels is when like there's running involved. Otherwise, I just don't think pretzels are that good. My daughters like to eat pretzels a lot, and I'm just like, why do you guys like that? I don't know. Omar Sadiq says, SL20 versus Boston 9. That's a great question. If you're asking me which one's better, I don't know. I really like my SL20s because I like the color scheme that's on it. I just think it's so wild. And I do enjoy running in that shoe. But I also really like the Boston 9. And I use them pretty much the same way. They just kind of feel a bit different because there's one's light strike and one's light strike and boost. So it's a good question. They overlap so much, and it's so confusing, the Adidas lineup this year. But yeah, I don't. Right now, I don't know that I could pick. They're just so similar. They feel a little bit different. I think that SL20 feels like it's a little bit more of aggressive of a shoe than the Boston 9 is. But I think that's always the Boston 9's problem. It's kind of like, it's like the safe, boring boyfriend in a romantic comedy. The one that's like so easy to be like, I don't know why she's with that guy. He's so boring and stable and dependable and loyal. And it's like, wait a minute, those are all really good things. And then you realize, the Boston 9 is a great shoe. So it's easy for me to overlook it all the time. Yeah, that's a really good question. I do have all those shoes with me here, and more testing is definitely going to happen with those. And maybe by the time I get to 100 miles in like the Adios 5, the Adizero Pro, the SL20, and the Boston 9, maybe then like the lineup will make a little bit more sense to me. Like there are times where I'm like, all right, it makes up a lot of sense. Like this lines up with that. There's like two lines. You got the light strike line and the light strike / boost line. And like these are things that line up here, and there's just two parallel like sets of shoes. And then I like think about them closer and I'm like, that still doesn't make sense. Anyway. JC says, I read entire tunnel races were canceled. I got an email about that Yeah, I got an email about that as well, saying that the tunnel marathons are canceled. I didn't read them, but I saw like the headlines and I skimmed, I think, a little bit of it briefly. But yeah, that's what I heard too. Looks like we got Chef MQ in here today. Chef MQ, you've been running like a man possessed lately. So impressed that you've been pounding out those miles, especially in the heat that you're running in. Good to see you. Let's see. Stevie76 says safe boyfriend. Yeah, the Boston 9 is like the safe boyfriend, but I feel like, that means you just got to take a second look at it. And that's the bias that I have against it. So I try to like keep that in mind when I talk about the shoe. And Martha says, Kofuzi and I usually like the same shoes, but I run faster and more efficiently in the Boston. Yeah, I think that I do too. I think that the thing is, I think I do too, but it just doesn't seem as exciting to me for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've done it to it. I did it to it last year, and I think I did it, even though I tried not to, I think I did it to it this year too. So I'm trying to like keep myself in check before I get like, the Boston 9's okay. It's more than okay. It's a really great shoe. Oh man. Let's see. Reed Morris says, how would I use the Adidas lineup? Yeah, see, so many people are so confused. And I'm still like, I guess maybe I need to get more aggressive on it and really start trying to like track someone down that can talk about it. But Reed asks, how would I use the Adidas lineup? Boston 9 for a daily trainer, SL20 for intervals tempo, Adios 5 for short races, Adidas Zero Pro for longer races. Reed Morris says, or Boston for all the above. I think the answer is you're right both ways. The Boston 9 could be a daily trainer. I'm not sure I like it that way. I think the daily trainer right now from Adidas is either the Solar Boost 19. We'll see what happens when the 20 comes out, or the Ultra Boost 19. I think that's what they want as the daily trainer. Otherwise, it is, I think, the Boston 9. But I think the Boston 9 also is used for like your long runs and then your fartleks. I think the SL20 can be used for anything from fartleks to like shorter, faster intervals as well. The Adios 5, yeah, I would consider that more of a racing shoe, but you can also use that like as your track day shoe and for your shorter intervals if you've got that. And the Adidas Zero Pro for longer races, but I don't know that I could race a marathon in it, right? So, the lineup is it's very stacked in one little segment, and then like to include the Ultra Boost 20 in that, it just seems like it's like all the shoes are clustered in one little segment of like the running universe, and then you got the Ultra Boost 20 like over here, right? And it just seems like, why isn't there more filling the space over here? But why isn't there more between Ultra Boost, Solar Boost, and then Boston 9? There needs to be like another shoe that fits in there better, or the Solar Boost needs to like be tweaked a little bit. That's just how I feel about it. Yeah, it's just it's so confusing. All right. New Betra, I see having a hard time saying that one. New Betra says, I picked up Boston 8s on clearance on a whim, and I do like them. Do the 9s really feel different? I would say that like I think that they do. But it depends on which Boston 8 that you have. There are actually 2 different Boston 8s that Adidas released last year. Someone that probably knows better could probably tell me there's actually like 3 or 4. But the 2 main ones were there's a Boston 8 with Light Strike, which is the foam that's in the Boston 9, the non-boosty foam. And then there's the Boston 8, the initial one that was released that doesn't have Light Strike in it. Now, in the title for Boston 8, it won't tell you which one it is. You have to look at the pictures of it, and the pictures, if it's Light Strike, it says Light Strike on the foam, and that's how you know. If you have a Boston 8 with Light Strike that you got on clearance, then I would say I don't think there's a huge need to get a Boston 9 unless it's because you've used up the Boston 8 that you have and now need another one. But if you have the other Boston 8, I wouldn't say throw that one away and go get the 9 by any means. Running that Boston 8 is still a great shoe too. All right. Yeah, we'll end with this one with Mark Chancoco. Totally agree about the Ultra Boost being too far off. They need a lighter Solar Boost. Yeah. I think so too. I think I think 2020 is like Adidas' like rebuilding year, which it seems like it's weird that 2020 is their rebuilding year. 2020 should have been a real big year for Adidas, and I think it's yet another year where it's like everyone had high hopes for them, and then it was just like, that's what they brought. I mean, they've definitely brought some heat, but it's like it doesn't make sense as a lineup so much. Or I'm having a hard time figuring out. And it sounds like you guys are having a hard time figuring out. So that makes me feel better because at least it's not just me. All right. Well, with that, I think I'm going to end it for today. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Tomorrow, the video is going to be in the morning, hopefully in the morning. I haven't been finishing my videos till the afternoons lately, but hopefully the video for tomorrow morning will be the fuel cell TC versus the Endorphin Speed. So we'll talk a little bit about that there. And then tomorrow's Thursday for the afternoon live stream. We've got happy hour, so hopefully you guys will join me. I'll have a beer. You don't have to have a beer with me, but if you don't want to, or you don't want to have any beverage at all, whether it's alcoholic or a recovery beverage and a sports drink or just water, hopefully you'll just come and hang out. All right, I had a great time today. Hopefully you guys did too. Stay safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.